Hello,
Hey.
and thank you for joining us for Live with Jesse and Melva. We are so happy that you joined us, and we're excited about continuing our story and the process of a couple, well, the couple, we're calling them Vernon and Veronica. And we're addressing Veronica. And we're going to tell you more about that in a second. So this is what we're going to do this time. So last time we shared the first step for Veronica in dealing with her experience of infidelity with her husband, Vernon. So we gave you step one. So this time we're going to share with you step two of what we guided her to do. We're calling it reflection. And then what we're going to do in addition to that is to share with you a tool that we gave for her own growth and transformation. And then we're going to give you an opportunity to see if any of those steps would support you in terms of taking a personal inventory. We're going to invite you to join us for a complimentary consultation in taking the first step for yourself. And we're going to give you a preview of Veronica's story part 3. So we have quite a few parts. And the reason why we have so many parts is because having affairs and feeling betrayed by an affair is very painful. And it's very complex. So let's give you just a bit of a review of what we shared last time about Veronica, and you'll be able to hear the whole piece that we did on our podcast because we are recording this. So Veronica, as we were saying earlier, she has experienced betrayal in her marriage with Vernon. Now he's had a series of affairs, and each time that she found out, I mean, it just was not her suspicion. She actually found out each time. So each time she found out, he would apologize, he would ask for forgiveness, and then he would do it again. And so Veronica got to the point where she was saying, I've got to do something about it. Well, the question was, well, what do you do? I mean, does she continue with the knee-jerk reaction when she's feeling angry and hopeless and powerless? Does she continue with that reaction and continue to feel the pain at a deeper level? Or can she do something else? Can she become more proactive and think through a response that is going to be healing for her, whether Vernon changes or not? So that requires a change in mindset as well as behavior. Because she has, and all of us have a skill set in being in survival mode and how to react when we're in pain, when somebody else frustrates us. So to her credit, Veronica chose the path to becoming more thoughtful, more reflective, and conscious about responding to her pain in a more effective way. So the first step that she took, that we covered last time, was creating a safe space. Excuse me. This time, we're going to cover the next step, and that's about what she does in the safe space. And what she does in the safe space is that she becomes reflective. So what are the things that she reflects on? She asks herself 3 questions. And what are the 3 questions? The first question is,
did Vernon change?
That was the first question. Okay. What's the second question?
The second question is she still feeling angry, hopeless, and powerless? Which I think is also very common.
Yep.
Then the third is she still thinking and convinced that the only way things will change is if Vernon changes and there is nothing you can do?
Yes. So those are the questions that she asked herself. And it's a question that we would recommend that anyone ask themselves if they are in the situation that Veronica is in.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to deal with Vernon a whole lot, few more sessions, sessions like we're in a counseling session, live cast later on. Okay, so she began to answer those questions. So the answer to the first question, did Vernon change? He absolutely did not change. He kept cheating. He kept the affairs. And she found out over time that one of the people that he was having an affair with, it was a long-term affair. So he would say that he broke it off, but then he didn't. And then he had a couple other affairs with other people in between. So he didn't change. And maybe his goal is not to change, because sometimes some guys think, and maybe even women, but we're talking about Veronica and Vernon right now, they decide that it's okay for them to do what they're doing, and that they're not going to change. So anyway, so the answer to the first question, did Vernon change, is no. The second question, the answer to the second question about, is she still feeling angry, hopeless, and powerless? The answer to that question is yes. However, it does not have to continue to be like that.
Right.
Because there are things that she can do, because we're talking about a feeling of anger and hopelessness and powerlessness. Those are feelings that can be managed. But first, they have to be honored. She needs to honor that this is what she's feeling, validate those feelings, have compassion for those feelings. She doesn't want to suppress them. She doesn't want to shut them down.
Right.
Because that is not healthy for her. So in honoring those feelings, that yes, this is what I'm feeling, then she can decide how she wants to feel instead. So that goes to the question about thinking. Is she still thinking and convinced that the only way that things are going to change is if Vernon changes, if Vernon chooses to stop affairs, which he is not? So how does she want to feel? So instead of feeling angry, does she want to feel peace? Does she want to have a calm inside no matter what he does? In terms of hopelessness, does she want to feel hopeful? Hopeful for herself, no matter what Vernon decides to do. And then in terms of powerlessness, does she want to continue feeling powerlessness? Because when she honors it, she doesn't have to continue to feel that way. She can choose to feel powerful.
I just want to insert something here. There's a real difference in terms of people who cheat. There's a real difference between, the one night stand, the guy who is off at a convention and he meets this woman and they're both from out of town. They have their fling and move on. Now that's one thing.
Yeah.
But the serial cheater is the person that we're talking about. We're talking about the person who cheats repeatedly and usually is with the same woman or women. And so that's a whole different thing in terms of serial cheating versus a one night stand kind of person.
That's true. That's true.
And I think the ones that we're talking about is primarily is the serial cheater.
The serial cheater, yeah. The Vernons who are serial cheaters.
Okay.
So to change, to manage those feelings of anger and hopelessness and powerlessness, and to shift them to feeling more peaceful and calm, hopeful and powerful, that means that Veronica has to put herself in a position of ultimate and exquisite self-care,
Mm-hmm.
so that she feels the feelings of powerfulness, um, and hopefulness on an ongoing basis in her life. Now, one of the things that we think about on a day-to-day basis is getting all prayed up before getting into the world. Go in the world on the inside, get connected, and then come out and deal with whatever life has to give us, present to us, even what we present to each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she could do meditation, but for sure, in this place of reflection, she can figure out what she can do so that she has that quiet time to make that decision every single day. Because repetition is the master teacher. If she focuses on it every single day, her unconscious is going to support her to find all these different ways of feeling peaceful, calm, hopeful, and powerful in any given situation, not just with Vernon, but in her life. And so if she plans to show up like that every single day, then that is a way to make a shift. That is a change that she can make. That is an opportunity that she has to think things through, because she doesn't have to rush to decide what she's going to do about her marriage with Vernon. She needs to take the time to take care of herself and to get clear and to get focused. Why is reflection so important? Especially, especially when a person is dealing with emotions. Because when we're flooded with emotions, well, the answer to the question. So, and you may have some comments to make too, that when you're flooded with emotions and you react to any given situation, when you're flooded with emotion, just know that the impact on the other person is not going to be an invitation to do any problem solving with you. And yes, Vernon was the person who messed up, so to speak. But if Veronica is in survival mode, they just get stuck on the surface, dealing with, you cheated, I'm sorry, but this hurt me, that back and forth. She doesn't get to the gold that's beneath the surface, and that's the yearning and the call for her to take care of herself. Because here's the other thing: 10% of what gets stirred up with her in terms of Vernon having these affairs is about the affairs. As painful as that is, 10% we have found, the research says, and maybe 20% is about the here and now. 80 to 90% about what gets activated is unfinished, unresolved business from her past, and probably from his past, but we're not talking about Vernon yet. I keep saying that. We're talking about Veronica. 10 to 20% is about the present. 80 to 90% is about unfinished business. And that's what we found out a long time ago.
Yeah.
And we found that out about, and it could be about affairs, it could be about any situation that a couple is dealing with. And when we discovered that in our relationship, first of all, it was easier for us individually to have more compassion for ourselves because we knew the bigger picture. We knew that when something went off the track for the two of us, that 10% of that was what was going on in the present. 90% was what was going on in the rear view mirror. And the rear view mirror was bigger than the lens that we were seeing things through, but it shaped the lens that we saw things through in the present. And so,
And I'm thinking about how insightful it has been, let's say, especially for women, when we are counseling with them and we start asking them about their past and maybe it was a father or an uncle or some other male person who is very close to them, uh, why it is that they happen to choose a Vernon, for example. And upon probing into that, what they discovered and we discovered was that the behavior of Vernon mirrored a lot of the behavior of important men in her life, which she was basically just repeating in this relationship with Vernon. And she was totally unaware of that. And why that's important is because, let's say, for example, she decides that she wants to change her pattern, change what she has done in terms of drawing these kind of men to her. She had to recognize that unless she changed and became aware of what her drives were in terms of uh, uh, following a familiar script, that it was likely that she's going to continue to do that with other relationships.
Yes, and when you refer to Veronica changing, I, I believe you mean changing how she thinks about it and what she does about it.
Right.
Because being yelling and screaming and what have you is not in alignment with the kind of person who she is in the first place. It's not in alignment with her values of who she is as a woman.
Right.
It's not in alignment with the values that she has for being in the marriage with Vernon.
Right.
Because she values love, care, and special treatment by the one that she loves. So she has values in her other relationships. And in this particular relationship, faithfulness is one of her values. Now, it's not one of Vernon's values, but it's one of hers. And so she wants to make sure that anything that she says and anything that she does in response to the pain that she's experiencing is in alignment with the person that she knows that she is, because she is not an angry person.
No.
She feels angry about this, but she is not an angry person. She feels hopeless in this situation, but she's not, but she's a hopeful person. I mean, that's her nature. She feels powerless in this situation, but she has a whole history of being powerful in her life. So she wants to align with that in dealing with this situation and the pain that she's experiencing with Vernon. So there's a quote that we'd like to share with you. It's a quote by Dr. Carmen Hara. I hope I have her name correct. We love, 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 love this quote. And that is, betrayal leaves us at a fork in the road. We can choose to act in ways that either favor or impede personal growth. That favor or impede personal growth. So if it favors personal growth, that means that Veronica is going to say things and do things that are in alignment with who she is, in alignment with her best self. Mm-hmm. Because she has gotten acquainted with her best self over these years, and she knows that there's more of her best self inside of her. And she wants to tap into that. When we think about the Beatitudes that we offer on a day-to-day basis, we think about the kind of attitude a person chooses to have about how they want to show up in life. So her 3 Beatitudes are to be peaceful, are to be hopeful, are to be powerful. Okay, so that favors growth. Now, what impedes growth is continuing to stay in survival mode and staying angry and that attack and counterattacking and that kind of thing. That serves no one. And it's not good for self-esteem. Okay, We can become, back to the quote, we can become stuck in a bad moment forever. Now, she's had more than one bad moment in terms of her history of being in a relationship with Vernon and him not changing. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of thinking about their story. And I believe he had an affair before they got married. And she thought that was going to change, but it didn't. Um, we can become stuck in a bad moment forever, or we can put it behind us for good. Now, putting it behind us for us means putting behind us, reacting in a way that does not serve our highest good.
Right.
And that does not serve the highest good of the relationship. Whether Vernon changes or not, and right now he's not changing. And then Dr. Hara says, we decide our path. So what does that mean? That means that we can choose. Veronica chose. And what she chose was that she was going to go into a reflective state and think things through, ask herself empowering questions about what she could and could not change. And we kind of mentioned that last time. She can't change Vernon, but she can change her approach in a way that serves her, in a way that's healing for her. And at some point, it's not going to hurt for her to do some healing work about her history and how that's impacted her, because her brain doesn't know the difference between past and present. Her brain doesn't know the unconscious part, doesn't know the difference between what she experienced when she observed the pain that her mother went through and the pain that she's going through. It just mushes it all together. Okay, so the good news is she made really two good choices. The one she made last time was that she was going to create a safe space where she could do some reflection and think things through. The second thing that she did was how she thought things through in her safe space. So that was Veronica's second step. Now it's your turn. Our question to you is, are you struggling with betrayal in your relationship?
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be an affair, but there's many times that we have found that people are very upset about betrayal in terms of someone that they care about, their spouse, their boyfriend, their girlfriend, who will make a promise to them and they don't follow through.
Right.
Now, Vernon's promises were about not having an affair, but people make other promises that they do not keep. And the person who is impacted by that is impacted in a painful, painful way. So are you struggling with having that kind of experience of betrayal in any form? That's the first question. The second question is,
are you open to become reflective like Veronica and ask yourself the same questions?
Yeah.
So you're open to that?
Yeah. And you don't have to ask yourself a whole lot of questions. Just those three will do. And if more questions come up, you can answer them. If you are open to that, then we invite you to do the process that Veronica did. If you would like support in taking that first step in terms of creating a safe space and setting up that environment to become reflective, we're inviting you to schedule a free telephone consultation with the two of us, because we are so dedicated to supporting people to get in touch with their own power in terms of what they can do. Our theme is, on our Facebook group, we're giving tips for success in love, marriage, and life. Our Beatitudes about how to be successful in love, marriage, and life. This live cast is about how to be more successful in love, marriage, and life. Our weekly column is about providing information and tools and tips about how to be more successful in love, marriage, and life. And the reason why we're focusing on that is because we know that the brain is wired for survival. And when you're wired for survival, and that's your primary focus, you then have tunnel vision. The only thing that you can see is survival, and you get stuck. You get stuck in a mindset and a skill set. I started to say of a toddler, maybe of a teenager. And you miss all the opportunities for all the different ways that you can show up bigger, better, as a problem solver, as a partner in life, whether it's a teammate at work or a partner in your marriage or love life.
Mm-hmm.
So we invite you to schedule an appointment. We're happy to give you a jump start. Okay, so Jesse, what did we cover?
Well, we covered Veronica's story, part 2, reflection. One of those includes a reflection in a safe space, tools supporting her growth and transformation, a personal inventory.
Yeah, that's what we're inviting them to do.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And review Veronica's story, part 3.
That's going to be next time.
Right. An invitation to a complimentary consultation.
Yeah. So next time, okay, Veronica has a safe space. She's doing some reflection. What does she do next? What does she do next? That is what we're going to cover next time. So again, we want to thank you for joining us in live with Jesse and Melva. And we're hoping that, and if you do have questions, feel free to put them in the chat box, or you can put them in our Facebook group. Brian has all these different ways that you can, ask questions. So just know that if we get your questions, we will answer them.
Right.
Thank you again for joining us. We're looking forward to connecting with you next time. Take care.
Watch Live with Jesse and Melva right here on Solivity TV every Sunday at 5:30 Eastern. Solivity Magazine brings you the best in inspiration on Solivity TV. Check out our new shows. Mark your calendars for Solivity Magazine shows by going to solivity.com now.